So, okay, we are talking about how to strategically price yourself. How to strategically price yourself. This is a really important area to talk about. There were so many questions wherever we posted this that we are going to have to do a part 2. Okay. So we're just letting you know. We don't have the time to cover it all. And even as much as we give you, it's still like scratching the surface of what could be explored here.
Okay, so let's get started. And what would you say the most important thing that we want to talk about here? Is it the geography of where you live? Is it your professional credentials? Is it your level of specialty? Like, what is the number one thing that you would say is the most important topic of discussion when talking about fees?
Yeah, I believe that it has to do with your inner value, the value that you give yourself, and your practice. Especially if you're a solo practitioner, it really is going to be a reflection of how you're doing with your inner game around money, around worth, all of those things. So it's so critically important to just continue to tap on those things, even after you've hit a certain level. Because if you don't, then it'll slide, or you could make the same. I mean, what's fascinating is that you could be an EFT practitioner and year after year make around the range of the same amount every year. Like, that's kind of impossible. If you look at it from a logical point of view, it's really a reflection of what's happening internally.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say in the MBA program, thank God we have tapping. Right? Because the information is out there. Right? You can explore and you can look at demographics for fees, for professions, and all that's information you can find.
Yep.
But the real biggie is, how resonant are you with it? Because if you're going, well, this is what I should be charging, but internally you feel not aligned with that, it's going to magically, serendipitously, whatever you want to call it, show up that it doesn't flow.
Yeah.
Right?
So let's talk about this idea of over versus under confidence in charging. And I want to say that the range, people are like, what's the range out there? So the range is on the low end. I've seen as low as $30 per hour for a practitioner. And I've seen $1,000 an hour by a scammer, actually. So that's really fascinating how it could just be this huge, vast range.
It is. It's wide open as anything can be.
And you can have, because I've had this situation where you have somebody down the street charging $30 and they are struggling to get clients in. And I am one of the most expensive practitioners I know when I was accepting private clients. And I was full for months and months. So take that into consideration again when we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
Part of it. So,
but let's just talk. So let's just talk about what happens. And I mean, you can use a different word, but kind of that sense of overconfident in yourself, in your skills, in your practice. Like, what do you mean by overconfident?
Yeah, overconfident to me is when you, as many business coaches will tell you to do, go right out of the gate and you've just started your practice and you're charging $200 an hour.
Right from the gate. Certification, big bang, boom. Okay.
Or you're doing these high-end packages because your business coach told you to at like $5,000, $10,000, even, $2,000 for packages. And again, you are overconfident because there's no way that you've gained that experience to feel congruent with charging those prices. And I see people when they pay for a $30,000 business coach, that they get this initial bump and then it's like levels off and then it just goes down to they're making the same they did before. And so I think that's about overconfident.
Yeah, one thing I do want to make a distinction. If somebody's been in practice 20 years as a licensed mental health care provider, and then they add EFT to that, so that's a different scenario. We're talking somebody that hasn't been in private practice and from right out of the gate elevates their price.
Because they've been told to.
Right. Okay. So what does it show up when somebody's in that overconfident category? Like, how does that show up? As what's the feedback from the
Right.
universe with that?
Usually it's like this big, oh yeah, look at this quarter, I'm making all this money, and then goes down. Another one is not repeating clients.
And not referring clients.
Not
getting
clients,
referrals from your clients.
Right. Not converting people from a 15, 20-minute consult to, yes, I'm ready to go and I'm ready to pay your fees.
Yeah, you start dropping below 50% of the consults.
Yeah.
I mean, there are different reasons.
Yeah, the kind of interesting number that I found in my research is 1 in 8. So if 1 in 8 consults results in no thank you, it's about your prices, then you're priced right. And if you're getting rejected more than that, then you are priced too high. And if you get 0 people turning you away, then you're priced too low. And I actually think that is from the logical left brain perspective, not at all going back to what we said, which is your practice, especially as an EFT practitioner, is a reflection of what you're feeling internally. So that, to me, we still go back to, how are you feeling internally? How are you valuing yourself? Are you underconfident? Are you overconfident?
Okay. And if you're underconfident,
yes,
then you're probably charging too little.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And one of the things that I want to say with that, when you start charging too little, how it shows up in your practice screen, so to speak, is being treated with less respect.
Right.
So reschedules at the last minute,
yes,
being asked extra favors, you start to notice a sense of, I don't want to say feeling used, but somehow disrespectful, resentful, tired, like it's not flowing with the same level of excitement when we're undervaluing ourselves or underconfident in our charging. Another
way that it shows up is with practitioners that cannot end on time. Like they just want to give and give and give and give and give. So, so I'm 30 minutes later, I stretch it out. Oh, we've hit something. I need to keep going. Unconsciously, it's this idea that I need to give them more and more and more and more because I don't value my work.
Well said.
Right.
Yep. So we start stretching our boundaries to try to convince them and to try to increase the respect and to try. Yeah.
One of the things that we added to this year's MBA program is that you get to repeat EFT level 1 and 2 as many times as you want to during the year.
And why?
Because we found that there were practitioners that would come into our course and still not feel like, shit, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, really, I don't really know the mechanics of what I'm doing. I just took a weekend workshop, did minimal in terms of mentoring and getting certified, or even worse out there are the people that that just kind of do the easy way and get online certification. And there's a challenge with that. There's not the rigorous oversight that happens, and so repeating would be another way for you really to ground the work.
Right. Because if you're feeling lacking in the skill, then your value is lacking, your lack of confidence, which is then showing up in lesser results, which is then it's that cycle.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's keep going.
Let's go.
I mean, like I said, there's a lot here.
Okay. So let's talk. There was a question because we put it out. What did you want to talk about, right?
Yes.
So one of the ones was, what about when and how do you share your fees with clients?
Yes.
Is there a right or wrong here?
Yes. No, there is no right or wrong. There is no right or wrong.
Good. Okay.
So I know just as many EFT practitioners that are book solid and they share all of their fees than those that require a consultation and then verbally explain the fee structure to the client. Generally, kind of a rule of thumb is the higher priced you are, then the more you're going to really want to have that connection with the client, with the potential client over phone or Zoom or some kind of consultation.
To let them know the value of the higher end package, so to speak.
Yes. And and so the timing of when you we actually have this wonderful formula for doing these consultations so that you can have lots of conversion, but
we're not there yet.
We're not there. So what I wanted to say is that what we say is there was a question about should you tell the potential client up front what your fees are? Because then at the end they won't say, oh, that's too much money.
Hold on. Are you talking about upfront on the website, upfront in the consultation? What do you mean
Both.
upfront?
Upfront on the consult. You go on the consult, and what is there any benefit to, like, right off the bat, this is what I charge? And we say no. They need to experience you. They need to feel like you're going to be the expert and that you are the right fit for them, and asking them questions about what they want to work on, seeing if it's within your scope of practice. All those things have to happen pretty quickly. And I would say wait to the end. And is it a waste of time to go through that process and have a potential client say, oh, but your fees are too high?
No. So for me, I have my fees on the website. They can find it. Anybody that's making the decision simply by shopping,
Yeah.
then they're probably not a best fit.
Right.
Right. And so with that, when I go through the consult, I ask them about themselves, we go through that. And at the
Right.
end, here's my fees and here's my policies.
Right.
And if they're going to make the decision no because of that, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have an attachment to that.
Right.
So there are a lot of ways to do it.
Right.
You've got to find what works right for you.
Right. And going back again to your inner value and your inner game, is if that happens more than just, randomly every blue moon, then there's a problem with what's going on internally for you. And again, we're going to suggest that the best thing for that is to actually focus on tapping. And this pattern is a reflection of what. So
Okay.
let's talk about niche.
So next topic is what is going to garner a higher value? And the perception of a higher value for what somebody's willing to pay is for an expert.
Right.
Is for a specialist.
Right.
Okay? Mm-hmm. So in one hand, your niche is who you're marketing to. And again, we are big proponents. We spend, a lot of time at the beginning of the MBA focusing on developing your target market and your niche and who you want to focus your marketing on.
Right.
And how you can be resonant with feeling like an expert, feeling like an authority on that topic. And one of the easiest ways is because you've experienced or overcome that. Mm-hmm. And if you've done that, then you have a lot of information and personal insight in what it's like to be suffering with that problem.
Sure.
Right? And of course, you're always going to be gaining more expertise.
Right.
Years into the practice, you're going to know more than you know now. But just like it's just common sense in our society that if I'm going to go to a generalist versus a specialist, I'm going to be expected to pay a higher price for that, right?
Yes. Absolutely. And the story I like to share is, between here and downtown Seattle, how many therapists do you think there are?
I don't know, a few hundred.
A few hundred? I'd say
1,000,
a lot.
I don't know, right?
A lot. Many of them struggle. The vast majority struggle statistically. There is one therapist in Seattle that specializes in working with teens, and teens of a particular ilk, and teens struggling with a particular problem. Do you know how much he charges?
I don't know.
It's $500 for the first session.
Okay.
And you know how
Full practice.
Full
practice.
Full waitlist practice.
Okay.
Because he's an expert.
Right. Okay. Perception and is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, both.
And the other thing I want to say, sorry, I'm flipping back, but I know I wanted to cover this. My favorite clients have been the ones that have said, I have saved 3 months to work with you. And I can guarantee that client will always show up. Mm-hmm. They will always do their homework. Mm-hmm. They're ready and engaged. They're willing to go where we need to go for the work. And because they put a lot of value into it.
Okay.
And in our society, yes, there are a percentage of people that cannot pay, and you should consider doing pro bono work for that group, tithing for that group, putting a certain percentage of your practice aside for working with that group, and charging full price for those that can afford it, so that you can have that wonderful you're so abundant that you're willing to give that away.
So what I hear you saying is that some people, when they talk about fees, will talk about sliding scale.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
discounts or Groupon. I've known people that have gone out of business for doing a Groupon, quite frankly. I don't
And
see any benefit
it
of
lessens professionalism, I think, as well.
Absolutely.
So what our recommendation is not sliding scale. Charge your fee in full fee so you're not negotiating with each person. This is my fee. It works for you or it doesn't, period. And not everybody that's meant to come to you is your client, and that's fine. And have a way from your heartfelt that you tithe.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
You take, for example, an organization that you donate your time free for, or perhaps you have 1 or 2 scholarship clients that you work with.
Right.
So you have 1 or 2 scholarship clients that you take at a time at any one time. And if somebody is really, really in need that you want to do that, it's like, okay, when a scholarship opens,
Right.
then I can do that. But that whole negotiating of sliding scale between each person, and then you end up seeing them driving up with a Mercedes the next day, but you already gave them the scholarship.
Yeah,
just say no to that.
Yeah, this is where knowing your audience and knowing your niche is absolutely critical. And because, like Craig said, if you end up, you might think that these particular people can't afford what you're doing, but if they take a trip to, the Bahamas twice a year, then they're valuing that. And what is it that you need to articulate about your niche and about the point of where they so need your help that they're willing to pay and save and do what's needed to work with you.
And since this is a business, do you need to take into consideration your niche as far as their ability to pay your fees?
Absolutely.
It's a consideration. It's not the determinant, but if you want to work with a homeless, then that's fine, but just have expectations for what that means financially versus working with professionals, working with well-educated people, etc., that make more money. So it's a consideration. Please don't determine your practice only by that, but to not take it into consideration is to have your, blindfolds on too. So those are considerations. And if you're working with people, let's say in the financial arena, that can affect your fees.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
and if you're working geographically in a certain wealthy area, that can affect your fees and have some more allowance. So it's one of many considerations.
For sure. Yeah, I know. And so I just want to stress that if your niche is in the financial arena in any way, your fees should be higher. And I resisted for so long claiming this particular niche, even though I was running this program, because I had a friend that said, the only coaches that I know that are making it are those that are working in the financial niche. So selling to other people that are trying to make money. And I was like, no, that can't be true. And so I resisted claiming a niche. I resisted putting it out there that I was doing this particular helping practitioners become abundant and all of that. And I now realize that yes, if you are focusing on financial niche in any way, charge more. But that there is, I had to prove it to myself, that finding a niche that really is that you absolutely love and adore and that feeds you is what's going to drive the engine to more people.
Okay, good. All right.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, you got that?
It.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk about next. So there are a lot of people, especially in licensed mental health care, that are working to transition from an insurance-based practice to a cash-based practice.
Right, and they sometimes absolutely see the potential with EFT, or either building it into their existing practice or actually opening up a side business as an EFT practitioner, and then having retaining their business for licensed mental health care. But then they get to the idea of like, oh, I got a taste of what it's like not to bill, not to have to do that paperwork, to have more freedom, to be a laptop entrepreneur.
Right.
And then they want to transition, and so that's there's a push-pull and a struggle.
Yeah, I mean, I went from a chiropractor from an insurance-based business to a cash business, and the freedom that it happens is tremendous, but you have to be okay with the people that say, no, I'm going to stick to my insurance people.
Right.
So what the primary factor that we want to stress is when you do that conversion, it's all about the inner game. Yeah. It's all about the inner game.
Yes.
The fears, the worries, the doubts. So you have to set your intention. You have to set transition goals. You have to make it stepwise to start to feel the freedom of what it feels like to have a simple interaction, and just know that it's a very tappable issue, that there's so many tappable issues in that conversion, because what if they say no? What if they stick to only their insurance company? They're used to this. They're already paying their insurance copays and all of that.
Right. And again, what you see in your practice, if this happens once in a blue moon, that you're converting your clients and patients and saying, okay, I've started this other thing that I'm doing.
Right.
If you're getting a lot of rejections and pushback, know that that's just a reflection of you. Absolutely. Right. Just a reflection of where you need to go in your inner game. You can mention it. So corporate setting. So many people want to break into the corporate setting. And if you have been in the corporate world, then it makes it easier, right? But if you're just coming from it like, I know I want to work with corporations because they pay more, then that's a completely, we're going to work with that mindset and change it and get it to the place where, again, you're completely in alignment and congruent with, these are my values, these are my people. I feel so much love for these people that if I wasn't charging, I would want to do it anyway. So we need to really get clear about the passion that's there and the energy and that's juice that's there for a potential niche. But let's say you're completely on board with that. You really want to change corporate culture and you're ready to start working with corporations.
Or because you've been in the corporate world.
Yeah, that's what
your
I
whole
said. That's
career,
a natural one.
Right?
That's a natural
and
one.
it's just easy for you.
Yeah.
You're comfortable with that.
Yeah. So here are the challenges, going back to what we originally started with, which is undervaluing and overvaluing. Undervaluing yourself when you're putting in a bid for a corporate job makes you look like you don't know what you're doing. You're an amateur. What is this person like giving it away? Well, we don't value it because we're used to paying consultants top dollar. Mm-hmm. Overvaluing is when you price yourself out of the market because you're just pie in the sky and you don't have a proven track record. So this is what we're going to recommend. Right. Start small. Start with who you know. My sister's best friend's cousin is HR person at so-and-so small or mid-level company that I'm going to beta test this with, and then roll out the program for a small fee or no fee so that you can build your CV with, oh, this person has a proven track record. Right. And now when you give the proposal to the big corporation, they'll see that you have something of value that others have benefited from.
Yeah, start small, build your confidence, build your skill, pad your resume with those experiences, just like you said, have that track record and increase your price. I remember I was working in a system and, the first time was like $100 to come in. Yeah. By the time I left, it was more like $350 for a presentation. So, right. And that was just a very small thing. So in other words, when we're not going to go over what fees do you charge for a corporate, it's going to depend on the amount of time. It's going to depend on the company. It's going to depend on what you're teaching. It's going to depend on how long an event is. So there's so many factors for pricing within that.
Right.
The last thing that we wanted to talk about, but we realized we're already going over.
Yes.
So we're going to do next week, we're going to go over on Monday, the process that we recommend for going through conversion or packages. Basically pricing and packages, moving from consultation to discovery session to pricing and packages. And we'll do that on Monday.
Yeah, we will. It's a whole other topic. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments here after we send out this recording. We'll check back on the comments for next week and address anything that we didn't have time to cover here.
Should probably mention what's starting.
The MBA. Right? So EFTMBA.com. That is our signature 1-year program, Marketing and Business Academy for tapping professionals.
Only tapping professionals.
Yeah, only because it's a niche. Believe me, you have all kinds of considerations that you don't have just putting yourself out there as a life coach or therapist. There are special considerations. So anyway, this is going to be our 10th year of running this program, and it's a lot of fun. The cohort that's there, that's forming now.
It's already great.
It's wonderful.
There's private mentoring. There's group mentoring.
Yeah, just check it out, EFTMBA.com. And so we hope to see some of you in Australia. We will be there in very soon. soon.
Less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, so we'll see you in Australia. We're going to be at Mind Heart Connect, and we're also going to do a 4-day matrix re-imprinting in Sydney. So thank you all, and have a fabulous day.